Hi everyone, this is Jama Malmi. Thanks for joining me today. I am playing with alcohol inks for the very first time, and I'm super excited because I watched a lot of videos and was super inspired by these techniques. So I went and bought some alcohol inks and the blending solution and some metallic mixatives and just got to playing. And this is a lot of trial and error, and you really learn the best by doing. I had watched a lot, but it really is different when you're actually playing yourself. So I encourage you to play around because it's really fun. It's a little bit messy, but it really isn't as messy as I was expecting. So the first technique I tried was on dry paper. Oh, and I used glossy photo paper because I heard that that could work in place of Yupo paper, and that's what I had on hand, so I thought I would try that before investing in some Yupo paper. So I scattered the ink on top of the dry photo paper first in a couple different colors and kind of blew it around, added the metallic mixative and the blending solution, and just started blowing it around. Noticed that it didn't spread over all of the bare spots, so that's when I went back and added some drops here and there, and just kept adding and blowing until I was happy. And this ended up being one of my favorite ones, my very first one. So I wiped it up with a dry microfiber cloth and then with a baby wipe. You saw it didn't get everything up, and so the next time I clean up, I'll show you how I got everything up. So then I did the same technique but in a more ombre fashion. So I did red on top, orange in the middle, and yellow on the bottom. And then I did the blending solution, and I didn't add any of the metallic mixative yet. I did just the alcohol inks and blending solution to start. And you'll see I have some of those bare spots again, and so I went in and filled those in. And then I added some more blending solution. You can see it move really nicely. And then I took the heat gun and I intended to see kind of how it dried, but it also helped to move the inks along better too, just like the straw did. So it was another way of moving the inks. So then I went and added the metallic mixative afterwards, and I liked that result better because I did the metallic just a little bit on top, and then I added a drop of the blending solution onto each drop of the metallic, and I liked that. So here I am wiping up the wet again, and then I got my alcohol, just plain old rubbing alcohol, put it on a cotton swab, cleaned it up, dried it off again with my microfiber cloth, and it was good to go, all clean. So this one, now I thought, well, what is it like to add some of the alcohol blending solution first, scattered around, and then I just added a bunch of color. Now I don't know why I added purple and green together, because they mix to make a kind of muddy reddish brown color. It's not too bad here, but in the next one I do, you'll see it doesn't turn out good. So these are all just really blending together, and so you need to keep in mind as you're adding colors how they mix. Look at a color wheel if you need to and see how they mix together. So I tried again with adding some blending solution first and then some color, and then I added the purple again, and I added a lot of purple, and it's just a muddy mess. And I just kept adding colors and mixatives and just playing and seeing what would happen. And then I moved it around with the heat tool, sort of dried it, and just thought, oh my gosh, this is a waste. I hate this. And I set it aside thinking I was just going to throw it out. So then I added the blending solution first again, went with some more green and silver mixative and blending solution on top, and dried it. And then I wanted to try the purple again to see if it would be any better and not blend into a muddy mess so much. I guess because I just really like the colors green and purple, I really wanted to try to make them work together. I just really like those colors together, but with alcohol inks, they just really can't. It's hard to get them to work together. So I didn't like how that was turning out. I added blue. I found out that in these alcohol inks, the blue really is dominant, and I used that as a way to cover up what I didn't like later on. And so I brought that other one back that I didn't like, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I can add some blue onto here and cover up this mess that I don't like. So I did that. I added a lot more blending solution. I think because I played around so much and was trying to cover up so much with these first samples, I went through a lot of the alcohol blending solution. It might also be because I used the glossy photo paper. I had to use more of the alcohol blending solution to get it to spread better. But anyways, I ended up adding some red there, not really liking the red, added more blue to sort of cover it up, and it just kind of looks like a mess right now, but everything ends up drying so differently. So don't judge what you do while it's still wet. Wait until everything dries kind of overnight and see what happens. So in this next one, I kept it a little more simple. I started with dry paper again and then added the color on top of that. And there's the blending solution. I was showing you how much I've used so far. And then I started keeping the colors pretty simple with blue and yellow, and they blended to make green, and adding some blending solution on top and metallics, and I just kept adding color. I like it right now how it looks, but I just kept adding color as I was working and ended up having to cover up what I didn't like. It ends up okay in the end, but this isn't my favorite, and I wish I hadn't added that purple, because that kind of, I decided, okay, I'm not going to blend this too much. I'm not liking it. I'm just going to leave it and set it aside and let it dry. And by the way, each time I finished, I put it on a tissue and just set it aside, and that worked okay. Here I went back to one of those other muddy mess ones and added more color. When in doubt, just add on top. One thing I learned, just keep adding. So this one, I decided to spread out the alcohol ink first, the blending solution first, even more. And I really liked the result of that because it helped the ink, when it went on, blend even better right away as soon as it hit the paper. And you could see how it was going to blend with the colors next to it quicker than if you add the colors and then add blending solution. It just has a really different look. You can see the cells of color more, and I just really like kind of it has a more simplistic look this way. So you'll see in the end, it's the one that I point out that is shinier and more simple. So this one, I added the blending solution on the bottom again, and I wanted to do a rainbow look. And so I did the two outside colors first and the middle color first, so the ones that didn't touch, and then dried it, because I didn't want them to blend too much. Then going in and adding the next ones, drying in between, and repeat. And I added a little bit of blending solution on top of each line as I went, but not a lot because I didn't want it to spread too much. And I dried it right away so that it wouldn't spread too much, so I could kind of stop the spreading process. Went in and filled in some spots and kept it pretty simple. Added some gold splatters on top, which ended up looking really cool. A little drop of the blending solution on each, and that was that. I really liked that look. So here are all of my finished backgrounds after I let them dry overnight, and I was anxious to turn them into cards, so I've done that with 2 already. So I'm going to show you a close-up of them. These were my 2 favorite backgrounds, and I'm going to do a separate video on how to pull these into cards, but for this video I'm just going to show you the backgrounds. So this rainbow one ended up being my very favorite. I just love that gold and how all of the colors mix, and just really cool. But I wanted to make some comments on using the photo paper. I have not used Yupo paper, so I can't tell you whether this wouldn't happen with Yupo paper, but I don't think it would. And that is some of the metallic kind of flakes off. So you can see that right there. A bunch of it just flaked off. I don't think it's enough to really notice, and I used a lot of it, and it came up to the top. So it might be just kind of flaking off of the top, and there were some spots that it flaked off, and like right here you can see the white paper. Right here it's kind of flaking still. I'm wondering if maybe if I sprayed like a sealer over it when I was done, after it was dry, if that would help, but I didn't try that first, and then turned this into a card. I still think it's really pretty, even with the flaking. I think I will try sealing, and if you end up trying that, then let me know in the comments how that worked out for you. So here are how all of my backgrounds turned out. So here's this one. It's got just a little bit of mixative. I used the heat gun on this one a little bit longer, and you can see kind of where it sort of started bubbled and got some texture. I think it actually gives kind of a cool effect. So that was that one. And here is one that I don't know, this just turned out so different. It's got a much smoother, shinier look. Maybe it's because there's not a lot of the mixative in the middle. It's mostly around the edges. There's a little bit here in the middle, but it's just a much, you can see the shine of the paper more than the other ones, and just a different look. I think I also didn't mix the colors in this one as much. Now this one has a lot of silver mixative. This is one of those that I didn't like how it was turning out. It was getting really brownish and muddy, and so I just kept adding more and more, and I added a lot more mixative, and I think it looks pretty cool. I'm noticing that these, as they're kind of curled, and as I sort of flatten them on their own, I can see that it's gonna sort of crack. The alcohol inks want to crack, so just be really careful that you're not going to bend them too much. I think once they're flat, it won't be a problem. So here's one with, again, a lot of silver mixative up on the top, but it's got some fun blues and greens and purples. Lots of fun shine. Another one with lots of silver mixative. So even though a lot of the silver flaked off, you really can't tell all that much. And this one, depending on the angle, it looks almost completely silver. But there's also some fun color underneath. I think this is the other one that I thought I was gonna hate, and actually it's okay. Like, it's not my favorite, so I'll still use it, and I'm not wasting it. So my conclusion is, it's hard to, out of these, I think I made 8 backgrounds. It was hard for me to make a background I didn't like. And even if I wasn't liking how it was turning out, just keep playing with it, keep adding. And I ended up liking them all in the end, enough to at least use them. The other thing I wanted to point out is I had these little scraps from trimming this one, and I saved those because I think they'd be really cool, a really cool detail for like a real clean and simple card. So yeah, that's how they turned out, and stay tuned for my next video where I'll show you how I did this, the process, and how I turned these into cards with the rest of these. So thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.